Good morning. It's Tuesday, August 2nd, and it's just past dark 30. It's about 6:20 something, and I am just left the hotel room, and I have ventured out into early morning Savannah traffic to head to Skidaway. Keep pronouncing it wrong, so I'm working on it. I guess State Park, where I'm going to hike a little bit of the trails that are there. Similar to the hike I did a couple of days ago, it's just going to be, I'm assuming, relatively benign in terms of elevation, because it is right near the water and it is, you know, coastal Georgia. So we're not talking about mountains and big elevation changes here, but should be interesting. Maybe I'll see some wildlife, but this is more like a training hike. You know, what I would consider a training hike. You get out there, you do a little couple hours, couple of miles, and then you still have the rest of your day. So the sun's coming up now, and I'm gonna make my way there. I'll check in a little later. I gotta say, if this is rush hour here, I'm loving this place. Traffic is what I would determine is light. I mean, there's some cars, as you can see, but not a big deal for what would be rush hour in many places. There's that beautiful sun. Well, I just arrived at the park and the gate's open, so that's a good sign. And I'm heading in and absolutely love this. I'm assuming these are all live oak, with the moss hanging down, the Spanish moss. Absolutely beautiful. Well, I just parked at the Skidaway Island Visitor Center. I paid, it was a $5 fee for parking, and I'm trying to find a map or something that shows me where the trails are, because there's really no markings or signs that I've seen. So I'm gonna go check out a couple places and I'll be back. Okay, got my orientation. I looked at a trail map. I'm assuming the raccoons have been here. And I'm gonna start off on the Sandpiper Nature Trail, which is I think a 1 mile loop or so. Check the map again. But all the trails here are rated pretty easy, so shouldn't be a problem. Let me get a little bit further down the trail and I'll check in. So here I am along the Sandpiper Trail. I just started the trail pretty much. There's a nice boardwalk here. I'm assuming this area at times floods, but it's nice and dry right now. And so far, that's the only wildlife I've seen. A crab. So I've come off the boardwalk and we're walking. I'm assuming that was a salt marsh. And we're on the Sandpiper Trail. And come to a nice open area. Stop so I don't make you dizzy. But just open area, beautiful in its own way. You can see the trees. Like I said, I really haven't seen any wildlife. You hear some birds, squirrels. I know there's raccoons around. I've seen some signs of them, but I haven't seen any actual wildlife really, except for that crab. Had a good time here in Savannah. This is going to be my last full day here. Tomorrow I start driving home. I've been looking to come back here. Let's follow this. You can see all the crabs. I'm scaring them. Even though they can sense you, I guess the vibration of the ground or whatever. You see them all going in their little holes. They do have, I'm assuming, some guided or some points of interest that they point out, because I've seen several of these lettered posts. I just don't have a map. What I am going to do is I'm going to check in the office when I finish. They should be open in an hour, and maybe I can actually get a map for here, and then that will in turn point out the points of interest. Okay, I came to a point where the loop actually begins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hike this whole loop and then continue on where it links up with another trail. That's my plan. I may amend that, but I'm going to take the left side loop first. I believe it's a little longer, if I remember the map correctly. I'll have to pull it up. I did download a map onto my phone, but I'm using it to record right now. Let me continue rambling on while I talk and walk at the same time. But it's a beautiful walk so far. Anyone of any ability can do this. It's all flat. It's really cleared well. There's obviously some little roots and everything, but other than that, it's easy to get to, easy to find the state park. It's all on paved roads. There's no reason that you wouldn't be able to get here and find it. And this trail is absolutely gorgeous in terms of ease of hiking. Hips feeling good. Still got a little pain, a little twinge of pain. Woke up pretty good today. I don't think I'm limping too much today, but I guess the head of the hip, or the socket area, just is still sore to me. I'm contemplating following up with a doctor when I get home, just maybe to get an x-ray and make sure I don't have any other injury. But we'll see. My big thing is to be ready for my hike in 20-something days, and I need to be ready for that. So if it means taking a week or two off, as much as I don't want to do that, I will do that. Haven't seen any other hikers or walkers. I saw one bicycle rider and one guy walking his dog, but no one's been on this trail that I can tell with me, although I did see looks like some sneaker prints, so there might be someone trail running in front of me. And no sooner did I say that than I'm proven wrong. I just passed two ladies that were walking the trail. They're coming from the other direction, which I actually am pleased to see, because that means most of the spider webs should be broken now, and I won't have to eat any silk. I realized that I forgot to start my watch when I started hiking, so I know my mileage is going to be off, but I probably missed maybe 0.1 or 0.2 before I realized it. So I'm just guesstimating. I'm hoping that's it. This trail is a big loop. I'm on the south or the southern end of this loop right now when looking at the map. I actually didn't check which way was north, but gauging from where the sun is. And I will follow this back to where it joins another trail. I may bypass the rest of the loop, but I think I'm going to do the loop and then backtrack over it, and that'll give me a little extra mileage. So it's easy walking, and I definitely would like to do the trail. There's a nice bridge in the distance. That's the Intracoastal Waterway. If you're not familiar with the Intracoastal, it is a system of bridges and a waterway that goes all the way to the north of the United States, all the way down to Florida. And you can, travel it with your vessel, so you're not out on the ocean unprotected. And if you need to, there are times that you have to go out on the ocean and you can't go certain places, but more or less you could stay, in a protected canal, sort of, or waterway, most of the way down, just venturing in and out at times. So it's important, obviously, if you're into boating. According to the map, this is the site of an old still where they made moonshine, I'm assuming during Prohibition. And I just checked the map again, and it said yes, during the 1930s, which was during Prohibition, this contained one still. And I guess they said there was something like 30 different ones on the property. And I've reached the place where the loop turns, but it also joins the Avion Loop trail. I'm gonna walk back on the Sandpiper trail so that I can say I did the whole loop, and then double back on this trail and then join the other trail, if that makes any sense. I'll include a map and maybe a link to the park's website in the show notes. Back here, and with the area I'm coming now, as you can see, some raised areas. These were reportedly earthworks that were built during the Civil War in order to protect the Savannah area, the town of Savannah. So there were gun placements out here to obviously protect the shoreline and the approaching path that invaders or the Union Army might take. And that's what that F stands for. There's a little interpretive sign back there. However, the mosquitoes were actually unbearable. I stopped for a second and I was getting basically attacked. So I walked down a little bit, and so this would have been obviously some sort of barricade that they built, an earthworks to hide behind and maybe use as cover, and supposedly cannons were placed here as well for support. Okay, we made it back to where the loop is. This is the way I went before, and I'm now going to be going back the same way I came and join that other loop trail. Mosquitoes are pretty bad out here. Did not bring insect repellent with me, and I would heartily recommend that now. Especially if you're going to do it early in the morning before the sun's up. Most of the bugs are still active and out because of the shade. Coming back on those earthworks, and you can see how far they extend. And it looks like there's another mound further up. I don't know if that's part of the same earthworks, but being that this area is really a flat, I don't see how that would be a natural occurrence. I would imagine that's some man-made phenomenon, just like this earthworks is. So it looks, and it wouldn't be uncommon for you to make multiple layers that you could either fall back on, or you could stay in between and use it for protection. So it does make sense to me that there's this row right here, and then further in the distance, I'll go that way. I don't know if we can see it, but I noticed there's another little earthwork raised area. So it seems pretty likely that they would have built both of those. And here's the sign. The mosquitoes have not come yet. So I would imagine this would have been a pretty good target, being Savannah, as it was a port, and it was very, very important to the economy of the Confederate States. Oh, it's another mosquito that will not be biting anyone. So yeah, you can just see right there, there's another like long line, a mound, and I'm assuming that's part of the same earthworks. So okay, we came here to hike. I do like history, and I think it's fascinating that some of it is still around today, and some of the stuff that people here before built have stood the test of time. It's important to remember your history, both good and bad. I couldn't imagine the early settlers to this area coming here without the modern conveniences we have. Obviously, electricity and air conditioning being two of the most important ones for, I imagine, this environment. I mean, it's pretty harsh out here. Okay, we made it back to the loop, Avion Loop. I don't know if that should be pronounced Avion, but I'm gonna take this loop and ready to go on the next trail. Well, there's the best wildlife I've seen so far, other than a squirrel. A lot of raccoon signs. And here I am on the Avian Loop Trail. I've come to the part where it actually splits. And here you can say it's spelled differently with an A and not an O. And I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the last loop. I'm gonna go to the left and I'm gonna come back to this point and then I'll backtrack so I can say that I did the whole trail. Check back in soon. Walk down a little side trail, there's a little path, and came to this area. Just absolutely beautiful. A lot of birds across the way, but I'm gonna continue on the trail. I keep meaning to not record so much, but just every time I come to something like that boardwalk or the area, you're entering, like here with the Spanish moss and the oaks and palmetto trees, it just looks good to me. It's beautiful, so I want to keep recording. I think I'm gonna have to heavily edit this walk. So okay, just saw some wildlife. I believe it was a rabbit, and he scurried off over here. Unfortunately, I just saw his light brown coloring and I wasn't able to get a nice picture of him, and I feel bad about that. So okay, I've come to where there's a connector trail that takes you to the big ferry trail, and it's nice that they have a picnic table here. I guess if you wanted to, you could come here and take a rest. You could even picnic or spend a little bit of time here. And it's nice that they put this table here to accommodate people. Makes it easy. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of garbage on the floor here, but you have a beautiful view. I'm going to go back on the loop so I can say I did the whole loop, and then I'm going to come back here, and we're going to be taking this connector. It's a 1 mile connector to the big ferry trail. Check back in. Okay, made it back to where the loop starts. Back to the Sandpiper, Avian Loop, and we're going to return back to go to the big connector trail, well, the connector trail, which takes us to the next trail that we're going to do. Check back in shortly. Back here along this area, the mosquitoes are pretty bad, and I definitely wish I would have brought some insect repellent. So my advice, once again, bring insect repellent and spray up before you go. I think if you come a different time of day, you'd have a better experience, but obviously early morning, they're still pretty active. Check back in. And looks like there's some sort of campground. You can stay here. Pioneer camping. Okay. I imagine Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, things like that, Royal Rangers probably use this. Be a great place to stay. You're camping, but you're certainly not out in the woods yet. You know, I mean, if you need to, services are nearby. But it'd be a good place, secluded enough that your kids can come out here and have a good time. I'm assuming that's a privy. Let's go check it out. And there's a garbage can here, which is always important when you're out in the woods because it means you can lighten up your garbage. And that's always a good thing. Yep, privy. I'm going to bypass this privy and keep going. In looking at the map, it looks like there's 3 campsites possibly along this connector trail. So that's only the first one I've come to. Okay, so I just completed the connector trail. This is the way out to the right if you want to go. We're going to do that later. We're going to go up here to the big ferry trail and do that trail, and then we'll come back along here later. And we're on the big ferry trail. It's a loop again. I'm going to stay to the left at first and go this way, and I believe there's an observation tower as you get on this loop. So we're going to go here. Mosquitoes have gotten pretty bad again. I've killed several of them. They've been especially biting my hand because it's out holding the camera. I'm coming to the observation tower. Just saw another bunny rabbit, or another rabbit. He's where I'm looking now, but I can't see him. He circled around and ran in somewhere. But this one I definitely saw much clearer. Here's the observation tower. Let's take a look at it. Let's climb up and see what we can see. I expect it'll be more of the same, just higher. Just videoing a little bit of panorama from the top of the observation area here. Okay, we're going to leave the observation area. Wait, here's the crabs. I might get a lot of them. I don't know if you can see that bird up there in the tree. Trying to figure out what that is later. Okay, I made it to a loop. I'm going to go to the right here. This is where it goes to the Big Ferry Loop, to the connector trail. And I'm going to go off to my right, but it's the left loop. And we'll take that and see what we see. There's some earthworks similar to what we saw earlier. Areas where they built mounds to defend Savannah and the surrounding area. And there's also another still site, which according to the thing, I think there was like 31 different stills on the property here in the park. And there's just another one that's documented, I guess. So we'll keep walking. So the still, or the liquor still loop, is basically a loop within the trail. So it's a loop within a loop. So I'm going to do this little lobe, get back to there, and then continue on. I've reached a thing, there's a marker here which denotes this is the earthworks. So I'm assuming that these V-shaped areas were dug like a trench of some sort to give some protection to the troops and to slow down maybe any invaders as well. So from this point on, we'll basically be circling around at the top of this loop and heading back, not a direct route, but more or less toward the parking lot where I started. And I've walked about 3.7 miles on my watch, so I'm going to say 3.8 because I know I was a little late in starting, but we'll go with that. And I've been walking for about an hour and 40 minutes, maybe something similar to that, 45. Oh, here's a sign. Okay, so there's the sign telling you about the earthworks. Okay, we made it back to the earthworks loops where we started, and we're going to continue going in the direction we came. So we're doing a little backtracking now on the path. And we're here at the liquor still site, which is, I guess during, I guess this was during Prohibition. And it not much here, it just looks like drums. I'm assuming they say they're from Prohibition. And it does point out that there are marks in the barrels, obviously from an axe or a sharp implement. So they're assuming that maybe this was raided or destroyed at some point. Okay, we've reached the junction where the Big Ferry Trail Loop goes to two paths, east and west. The west one would take me back to the connector trail. I'm going to stay on the east one as we move south from where I said the tip or the northernmost point of the trail is. So, and this will regroup later on, or that path would have regrouped with the connector trail. So I'm now going down the eastern side of the loop. I came northbound on the western side, did the earthworks and the still loop, and now I'm going south back to the Big Ferry Trail, but I'm on the eastern side of the trail until it rejoins further south from here. So hopefully this will become apparent when I get a map, and I'll show it on a map. I'll retrace my steps. I noticed that there are white blazes actually on the trail here. So I've been seeing them for a little while. They're few and far between, but you really can't lose yourself if you're looking at this trail. You can see it's a clearly worn path, and I don't think there's any doubt of where you should be walking. Okay, it looks like I'm coming to the end of the trail, just joining the parking lot where the camping areas are. I'll say it's roughly about 5 miles worth of trails. There is another short trail at the entrance that's probably about a mile, so that makes the 6 miles of trail in the park. I'm gonna make my way back to my vehicle. Let me do a little wrap up as I walk. This is a great park. It's nice that it's so close to Savannah itself. You're talking 15 miles, maybe 20-25 minute ride. There's stuff nearby. There's a supermarket, gas stations obviously, and a major highway. So there's no reason for you not to be able to make it here and go walking. I saw one gentleman that was trail running. I don't know how much he did, but I saw him getting into his car. But obviously some of the locals, easily to get here. You can buy a pass. It's $5 to park your car. Not a problem. There are pavilions, there are tables. You can picnic here. You could stop up the road. There's a Kroger. You could probably get food if you want. There's playgrounds for the kids. You have bathrooms, everything you would need to be here. I would not hesitate to recommend someone coming here, especially if you have kids. They would be great on the trails. They'd probably have a fun time running around. They're not going to get lost. There's really nowhere to go except stay on the trails is the best. So I'm making my way back to the car. I did get a map from one of the kiosks, and I'll show that a little later. I'll go over it. But I basically walked, my watch is showing about 5.5, maybe 5.6 if you want to add an extra tenth that I probably didn't start my watch on. But basically 5.5 mile walk, doing all 3 trails and loops and doubling back on some of them. So you could easily pare this down or do any one of the trails and cut it to shorter lengths if you had someone that can't walk as much or little kids. So highly recommend this. I have not found out why it's called Skidaway. I'm gonna go in the office, I think, and ask if maybe there's a reason why. So I just left the office and the gift shop there. Very nice. They have another nice, cute stuff. I can spend some money in there, but I think I won't. Saving my money. I did ask the question of the origin of Skidaway, and they're not sure. It either is probably a rough translation of some sort of Native American name, or named after a town in England, in Chatham, which the lady was saying does make sense because this is Chatham County. So it's possible that that is the root of the name. But other than that, no one really knows. I'll check back in a little bit. I'll do a recap. I might wait till I get to a hotel room so I can spread out the map and show what I did so it makes greater sense. So I made it back to my car. It is 9:40 in the morning. I've been walking about 2 hours, 40 minutes. However, that's including a lot of breaks. I stopped at the bathroom. I just spent probably 20 minutes inside the gift shop looking. You could probably say I didn't start my watch right when I started. I was a little bit in. It might be 5.9. I don't think it was 6. There is one other trail here that I did not do at all. It goes from the entrance of the park to the parking lot around here, just a couple of feet away from me. However, it does not connect with any of the other trails, so therefore I did not do it. So I could easily have done that trail. It would not take much to do that as well, but I decided not to do it. So I'm going to drive back to Savannah now, join my family, and get some breakfast. That's going to be it for this part. I am going to do another recap, and I'll show the map on that one. Well, I'm obviously back home. I managed to go to Skidaway Island State Park and do the trails there. And this is just going to be a little recap. I'm still working on that video. I've been a little bit lazy lately since I got home. I have another trip coming up very shortly that I need to get ready for. 2 trips actually. One of them has nothing to do with hiking. It's just family related. The other one is my hiking trip that I'll be taking shortly. So I just wanted to recap, and I managed to get a map when I was in the office at the end of my hike, and I wanted to go over so you'll have a visual. There are maps available online and for download, but I figured I would show you on a map what I did, so it kind of makes a little bit more sense maybe, and with a visual reference there's a little understanding of what I talked about with the loops and how they connect and whether I was going to the left or right or something like that. So I did learn some lessons. The OM5, which is what I'm recording this right now, I liked it, but I really didn't like it. It's not that heavy. I don't mind carrying it. I just feel it really eats up power a lot. During this walk in the morning, which wasn't more than a couple of hours, my phone was down to like 30 something percent, and the OM5 itself was down to 33% or less. It's just 3 lights, but I know it was probably less, at least that, but we'll say 33%. So it really eats up power a lot if you're using the app as well as the phone. I did keep my phone on almost all the time, so for 2-3 hours, more or less the screen stayed on. I understand it ate up a lot of power, but with the app and the Bluetooth going, I think it eats up a lot more. Also, occasionally, and what just happened earlier during this video is, for some reason, the motors, I don't know if they exceeded tolerance or something. I mean, it's static, it's not moving, but it just shuts down. Like it just, the power doesn't go off, but it's like the motor just stops, and the camera and the gimbal just lose its stability where it's at. And it just happened again here. So I don't know if it's something of a fluke with my model, there's something broken or damaged, or it's just, maybe a programming flaw or something I'm doing wrong, one of the above. But I will not be taking this on a trip with me. I feel the weight and the benefits are not there. It's light, it's much lighter than my camera, and I like using the phone with it because I'm carrying it anyway, and I think the phone is a great way to take video. I just don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze, as I say on it a lot. I feel that the benefit added by carrying the gimbal, while it does smooth out some of the video, I really didn't think it was that good. I watched my video on the Ogeechee Canal, and I really didn't think it was that great. I think there was still a lot of, and it could be operator error, I admit that, but at least if that's the way I'm going to use it, I don't feel the video definitely was smoother, but to me there was a lot of motion still, a lot of side to side, and it seemed jittery. So I don't feel that the OM5 is really a great improvement over the previous models that they've had, and I don't think the video is that great that I would bother carrying this and using it, because I think it's going to use up a lot of power. As you can see right now, while I'm recording, there, I was just recording, you see it dropped off again. So I don't know what the problem is. I'm trying to get me back in focus here. And that's another example of, perfect. So I've been using this thing for maybe 8 minutes, and twice now it has dropped off. So I don't know if the motors are being exceeded, maybe they're heating up, or it's just exceeding the load, but I followed the directions, I balanced the camera, and this is what I got. So I'm now going to go to the map, I'm going to reposition the camera so it shows the map, and I'll show you what I did. So this is the map of, as you can see, Skidaway Island State Park. It's the trail map. And right here is the entrance where I came in. And you can see right here, there is a little trail here. It's about a mile long. This is basically where I parked. And then I walked, this is where the visitor center is and the gift shop. I walked here, I followed, this is the red trail right here, you can see it. That is the Sandpiper Trail. It's a loop, it's 1 mile long. And you can see there's letters on here, and each of those letters coincides with one of those posts that they had in the ground with the letter on it, and that coincides to some point of interest. And on the back of this map, it does tell you what that point of interest is. So here is the Sandpiper Trail. This is the way I went. Here at this junction, I made a left to go around the whole loop. This is where it connects with the Avian or the Avion, like that one sign had. And then I continued going back to this junction, so I could say I did the whole trail, and then I doubled back to join the Avion loop. And I did the same thing on the Avion loop, which is what I did here. As I walked down to this junction, I went to the left again, did the whole loop, and this is where it connects with the connector trail. But I didn't go there the first time. I came back to this junction again. Same thing I did on the Sandpiper Trail. Went back to the connector loop, and then took the connector loop up along to join the big ferry trail. So this black line that joins the yellow and the white is the connector loop. And it says it's 1 mile long as well. Those three marks right. See what I mean? This is the problem with this thing. So it recovers and goes
right back, but it's a problem going forward, and I don't think that's going to make this usable. So here is the 3 campsites that I passed, and then I joined the big ferry loop. And just like in the other trails, I went to the left first so that I could walk all along. Here's the observation tower, and I took this whole loop all the way up here. This is where the earthworks were, where I pointed out those lines where they could have been the batteries, that they would have mortars there. I came back, now I went to the right this time to complete the whole loop, and I rejoined the big ferry trail here, and I took this trail back out to the parking lot, and then from the parking lot I walked all the way back to the visitor center where my car is parked, and then exited the park. So that's just a good idea of what I did. So if it wasn't clear kind of from watching the video, I know it can be confusing sometimes. Hopefully that makes it a little bit more understandable. So it was a great trip. I really enjoyed going to Skidaway Island. It was a nice walk, really nice trails. I would highly recommend it. Great if you have a family as well, much like the, Ogeechee Canal. Can't make this up, people. So there, about 4 times in 20 minutes, this gimbal has rolled off. So that to me is unacceptable and unusable. So this will be definitely staying behind. I may even return it or try to sell it used. So the powerful lesson I learned out of that this product is really usable for me. So I'm going to find another solution. I'll probably just bring a tripod. I'm still debating whether to take my camera on other trips, especially the California trip, because that will be, to me, a very good trip once in a lifetime with some great views. The only problem is for me to take my camera and all my support equipment, microphones that I like to bring, although I could leave those off, talking about probably close to 2.5 to 3 pounds of extra gear. I can lighten that a little bit, but not much. And I like having that extra battery power that I'll need because the camera uses it. I have to charge the batteries up. So I'm going to see what I'm going to do. I'll be deciding in the next day or two. I have to start packing because I'm leaving in about a week. So I need to get my gear dialed in and decide what I'm taking. The good thing is there's a lot of gear I don't need to bring, and I'll go into that. I'm going to make a video of my packing and probably show my gear, how it's stored a little bit, and what I do when I'm starting to get ready and gathering my gear, going through a checklist and all that. So thank you so much for joining me. If you like what I'm doing, give a thumbs up, give a like. Try that again. So if you like what I'm doing, please consider giving it a like or a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. Any questions you have, love getting those. I'll respond to them. And if you like what I'm doing and you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much. Till we meet again.